On this episode 303 of the 365 Message Center show, we'll be able to rate and review Teams applications. That's going to be fun. Viva Connections gets an update to the top news card. We'll have a few more options there to draw attention to top news. And for our top news, something's coming to Windows that might pilot and have something to do with AI and made a little stir last week. Roll it. Daniel. I know it was an interesting intro. So cryptic, but not really because it was in the news a lot, wasn't it? Yep. Absolutely. Welcome everyone to episode 303. Welcome Daniel.
Welcome Daryl.
You're supposed to reciprocate. Oh my goodness, there's a gap there. I'm going to have to cut out for our audio.
Man, yes. Welcome everyone. We were just as excited and then maybe not so much. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it on some news this past week with Copilot and such. So we'll be able to talk about some of that this go around. But first, why don't you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that little bell so you can be reminded about the episodes when we release them here on YouTube. Subscribe to, of course, the podcast on wherever you find audio podcasts, because we're on all of them. So make sure you give us a rating, and we'll be talking about ratings in Teams in a little bit, but give us a rating on the podcast so other people can find us. Give us a thumbs up here in YouTube. So we'd greatly appreciate that.
All those things. Thank you, too, for those who do and those who are and those who engage and reply and give us the right to reply.
No, I had some great conversations with people about the show this past week. And
where were you?
I was at a conference called TEC, and in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United of States, and have some great conversations. I enjoy getting different perspectives. This conference is more so toward IT pros and the like, and so it was good. It was a good time. But one thing that I do feel like, that I do really enjoy, is having conversations with people, whether it's through comments on YouTube. We get quite a few of those, tweets or whatever they're called now, whatever, in LinkedIn, having conversations around these messages and how it's affecting you and what your thoughts are. We'd love to engage with you and really have those conversations, because while we have a lot of experience with different organizations in our careers, that doesn't necessarily mean it's what's happening for you. And so we'd love to have your perspective as well.
Because it's always changing.
Always.
And that's what this show is all about, trying to keep us up with change, or at least
indeed
us up with change. And you're along for the ride. Sorry about that.
So,
Daniel,
let's jump into it, sir.
Yeah, what's the top news? But not the top news.
Well, let's talk about the top news, but not top news. Viva Connections top news, in quotes, card updated to include more news. Source options. It's MC 676544. So if you're familiar with the dashboard cards, so Viva Connections dashboard cards, the top news one, it's pretty straightforward. It shows the top news. And when you think about top news in an organization in SharePoint, you're thinking about that organizational news, which is that home site that you have where you're publishing news.
Question. How do you know what is it choosing? How is it choosing top news?
Well, it's top. It's like the very, very top.
The first thing in the list?
Well, yes, basically of the top news of those things that are promoted or that are organizational news, it is the top one, and then you can see the other ones when you click on it. Come on, man, aren't you familiar with this?
I just wondered. I kind of am, but I mean, that card just seemed to be quite benign, and
It does.
sometimes just gave a different result to even the feed. The Viva feed, right? Just like how did we get this thing when we're getting this other thing over here?
So this update is kind of helping us with this. Is not only are we going to be doing a top news, but we're going to be able to have additional sources for that top news. So you're going to be able to have a top news, a news about this part of the company or that part of the company. So you can highlight the different sources. So you can have multiple instances of top news in your dashboard, and then be able to have those configured to say, I want it from this, maybe HR. That's a big one oftentimes in organizations. So if HR has or corporate comms has, or benefits, whatever, then you can have those news from those sites be in that particular card, and then have it have another card for, maybe you have your CEO has a site where he or she or their assistant publishes news items, publishes items to give updates every month or something. That could be another one, right? So this is rolling out in a way that if you're using the top news card, it's not going to interfere whatsoever. And then you can go in and add more and pull from news from those different sites. So I do like, Daryl, how you raised your hand for those on the auto podcast. He raised his hand, but instead of waiting on me to call on him, he interrupted me. He raised his hand and said, "Excuse me." Like, no, well, do one or the other, right? Raise your hand and wait, or interrupt and talk, but you don't do both, right? Try to be polite, but not.
Okay. Yes.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. And that was the news.
Yes. So this is rolling out mid-October and will be completed by late October. So they're going to do it pretty quick here, coming next month. So I'm looking forward to it. More options, but again, it won't break what you're already using it for. So I like that.
Okay. How would you rate it?
I would rate this a 4 stars. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's a great idea. But another great idea is being able to rate the apps that I use in Microsoft Teams. Can we do that, Darryl?
Well, you will be able to, Daniel.
Great.
Funny you should say that. Ratings and reviews of apps on Teams now available. Huh. Hang on. This is confusing. In the typical way. It's now available, but it's not. Let me just, while we're in that thread, number, MC676296, but let's get back to the now available. When will this happen? Standard release will be rolling out mid-October. Expect to be complete rolling out late October. Just so we got that out of the way.
Well, no, if you're reading this in mid-October, then it would be now available. So they're just preparing for the future.
Okay. Yeah, the clock is right 2 times a day or something. That's right 2 times a year. I don't know.
A broken clock is right twice.
What is this update? There's a place we go to get our apps from Teams, and we currently open them and check them out and see the description. We try stuff out. Microsoft apps, third-party apps. But we don't really have a way of rating, letting people know if this was top notch, this was good, this actually was quite helpful, found this great, nowhere to make a comment. That's what's been added. So I think that's going to help with finding apps that are helpful, rather than just depending on something bubbling to the top because of some, I don't know, is it an algorithm, or is it just this is what we want to promote at the moment in the App Store? I think, no, I can't even speak to that experience, how things get there at the moment. But one would hope that with ratings and with comments, that it's going to help us to evaluate, is this something that would be good to use for my team? I think, Daniel, with a lot of these apps that we do tend to install, it's an extension of something that's already out there that we might already be using or investigating.
Right.
One good example for me is Miro. Use that as an interactive whiteboard. I installed the app because I wanted to bring the Miro board into a meeting experience, not because I went through the catalog and found it and someone rated it and talked about it.
Right.
But put the two together, that may help the story. So we've already talked about when it's going to be rolled out.
Yeah, no, and I think for this, it is, maybe it will help with that, what you were just talking about. You go through and you're looking at them like, I don't know what these things are, right? So maybe we're going in there and try to grab what we already know and just want to be part of teams. Well, what if we could discover some things that would actually enhance our day-to-day working, our digital workplace, but we'd already know about it. But what if it's highly rated and people are posting, hey, this is great, this saves me time, this really enables me to get, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that would help. So maybe it'll transition that, because I agree with you. It's mostly go in there and find the thing. Is there an app for the thing I use outside of Teams so I can bring it in? Yeah.
We did wonder when we were preparing for the show if there's going to be a right of reply for the... Actually, there is, isn't there?
There is.
The vendor will be able to also put something on the rate, not the review. The review.
For the review. And I think, this is one of those kind of areas where, I hope it won't be abused, right? Because you can give these reviews and it be authentic. Hey, I had a terrible experience with this. It kept crashing, or it's only about half of the functionality of the regular app that's in the, that I use in the web, rather, so it's not the whole thing or whatever. I mean, there could be legitimate there, but in this kind of scenario, I can see a path of, I provide legitimate, the app maker comes and says, this is not legitimate because of these reasons. And that's it, right? That's the end of, it's not like you can have back and forth in this. It's just,
no,
that's what it is. And so as a consumer, I go and look at that review and go, oh, it's not everything, but they say it is now. So who do I believe now? I don't, it's the nature of the beast. It's just, that's kind of the way it is. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And will this improve? Because I feel like, and this happened in the SharePoint App Store, where people put out these apps that were focused on one or two kind of specific functionality, and then sometimes didn't update it. And so even though you could get it, it wouldn't work anymore. And so it'd be nice to have some reviews to say, hey, this doesn't work anymore. Don't buy it. Don't spend your money because it's not going to work for you.
This is when it will last updated.
Right.
So, well, maybe, Daniel, you might write this review using the help of AI. I don't know. You could do. But I want to hear about that expanding story.
Oh, you do? Well, there was a little event last week that probably would help with that if you'd watch that. But that's not what this is specifically about. This message: expanding our AI capabilities to meet the everyday needs of people and business. And if that doesn't sound like marketing, I don't know what does. MC676237. So this is talking about the general kind of announcement here of Copilot coming to Windows, and how this experience is going to roll out. And so we won't talk too much about, the message is right there, and it's actually not a whole lot of information other than it is the being rolled out gradually, beginning with this preview of Copilot in Windows in the September 26th optional preview update for Windows 11. Now, that's a big one, and it's kind of a delineation. If you're still on Windows 10, you're not going to be using Copilot in Windows. They're not bringing it to Windows 10, only Windows 11. That's all I've heard. Now, have I heard a definitive it's never going to Windows 10? I don't know that I've ever heard that publicly or even privately, but all I'm hearing them talk about is Windows 11, which makes sense. Windows 11 is their current flagship Windows, operating system. So now you can, limit this, as an administrator if you want to. So you can do that kind of limiting thing, I think, for these optional updates. Now, it kind of thinking about and going to more of a broader view, there was an event last week, at the end of the week, that was talking about, it was kind of like a devices type of event that Microsoft had, but they talked about Windows and talked about Copilot very much, so that was part of that. And I think Edge, is a big one that, they're talking about integrating Copilot and Edge, and that's part of this announcement too. So if you haven't caught on, Microsoft has a theme of Copilot this year, and so there's only one Copilot, but there's many. It's kind of like
OneDrive?
But it's kind of like that cat, Schrodinger's cat, with
Schrodinger's Copilot.
Yes, Schrodinger's Copilot.
I asked you a question, and the answer is yes and no at the same time.
So if you look in the box, Anyway, so what did you think? What do you think about this, Daryl? What do you think about this one Copilot, but there's many? That's still a little confusing to me.
Needs work. Needs work.
Yeah.
I think good that at one point there was talk of there being many co-pilots, and you could look at it that way, that it's across all kinds of different products and places, and wherever it is, it's focused on that context, and it will deliver up certain things to help you with the tasks you would perform in that application.
Yeah.
But my hope would be that we see something that brings that all together, and that it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to use Copilot like you would Jarvis. When Iron Man used Jarvis wherever he was from whatever he was doing. Not that he was in the workshop and he couldn't order a pizza.
Yeah.
But I think it is still confusing because you've got Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Which one's the one that's in Windows? Is it just Copilot?
The Copilot.
Oh, the Copilot.
I don't know.
The one that sees what you're typing in Word and says, "Oh, I'm going to highlight this text, and I see you. Do you want help with that? I'm not just going to open down here. I'm going to open the full pane on the side and give you lots of options."
What I'd like to do though is rename Copilot. This I think is when we need to rename our Copilots.
Okay.
And the number one rename has to be Clippy. I think that would be mine anyway. As soon as I can rename Copilot, it'll be Clippy. I see you're writing a document about this. Would you like some help with that? I think it would be amazing. But no, I feel like myself, I'm very excited about Copilot and what it can do. But I really need to get my hands on it to see how it's going to save me time and energy and money and make me more efficient. And until I can do that and get my hands on and it really help me and integrate with what I'm doing, I think it's going to be it's just going to be difficult. And I think that's to understand it, to realize that potential. And I think that's going to be hard for a lot of organizations. To sign up for this and without knowing how is it actually going to help. Real terms, rather than, hey, things like demo of, create a document based upon that other document, but for this client. Yep. Okay, great. Cool. But I could go and make a copy of that document and do find replace, right? And it would replace one name with another. Now, I would hope it's better than that and would go beyond that. But, there's going to have to be more complex and more... it's going to have to be more than what we're seeing, I think, for an organization to buy into it. And this one, though, with bringing Copilot into Windows, how is it going to help me in Windows, right? In Edge, right? So how is it going to help me in reality? And I think that's, I think it will. I'm not throwing, doubt on that. I'm just saying I don't know yet. And until I can actually use it, which means maybe I'll have to pay for it, but until I use it, I'm not sure how.
Fair comment. We've seen buzz videos and demos, early demos. Mm-hmm. There are partners, people on the early access program that know how this is progressing. I think the last thing I'd say about this is they've set a date, and
Indeed.
There's going to be a lot of people working pretty hard to make sure certain things are working. No, I don't expect them to deliver on the full roadmap and what we've seen, but they'll have to launch with something that delivers value early. So,
Indeed.
Interesting to see.
What I would like for Copilot to do is help me with my meeting experience. But until we get Copilot, running meetings for us and attending for us, see, that would be even better. Maybe
I'm just wondering what that'd be like.
That'd be amazing. Maybe we can get a simplified join experience. Maybe
it would do what I did earlier, and it'd just raise its hand and then go, right, moving on to the next item, and it'll cut right over people.
That's right. That'd be awesome.
Right, so simplifying the meeting join experience on Teams Mobile, MC675813. I join a few meetings from mobile at a pinch. Sometimes it is because my desktop experience isn't turned on yet, and I need to hurriedly join that meeting as I'm walking along the street before I get into the office. Other times, I just don't want to go to my desk. Maybe it's early in the morning and I want to just attend from where I am, eating breakfast, video off. But this experience isn't always consistent or easy. And there's a few scenarios around that. They're trying to improve it for iOS and Android teams across both experiences. But first of all, streamlining the join process by reducing the number of steps it takes to join. Actually, with all of these three examples, it would be great if we saw some pictures to kind of understand what this will be like what steps are going to be there. Particularly for users joining from external organizations, I think is what the message is trying to say. It looks the language is a bit mixed up there. But yeah, when you do join a meeting and you're someone who's not from an organization, maybe you've got the Teams app on your mobile, let's just say, it's a bit difficult. If I jump to number 3 in the list there, related to that, that switching experience of sometimes you do want to go into the tenant where you are the guest to attend this meeting. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're forced in that direction when you're joining from a Teams mobile. And you're like, come on, just switch. Okay, we're here now. We're joining. Okay. Crash app. Go back in. Try it. Sometimes it is like that. So it's good to hear that they're trying to improve that. Number 2, the item that was number 2 is formerly known as 2, but now 3, thanks to me. Users who join without signing in, your anonymous joiners who they won't necessarily do it from the Teams mobile app. Maybe some of them will download it, but I think a lot of them tend to join from a web browser, which you can do quite well from the Teams Premium, what's it called, like appointment queuing joining thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good focus. But as a rating, if we're going to talk about ratings in this episode, I would rate this message a 2.5. I want images. I want a bit more detail. There's a roadmap item. There's some dates, but yeah, it's a bit light.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
Standard release. Oh, begin mid-October. Expect to be complete mid-November. I didn't mean to cut you off, sir.
I didn't raise my hand and then interrupt.
Well,
I need
you
to,
did, but like you had this little dude on the screen with a little hand, and never mind.
No, I think you're right. Some of those examples you gave of how you're joining and everything, I think simplifying that experience for users. Anything that's simplifying joining a meeting like that is going to be a winner. Because if it's complicated, then you're not going to win. You're not going to win against other products, nor are you going to win over that user. So I think it's good.
We're often joining from our mobiles because we didn't get time to get to that full experience on our desktop. So we need it to be snappy.
Yep,
we don't want to be clunkety clunk clunk. Last message, Daniel. Serve it up yourself, right? It's over to you. I want a trial of this.
Nice. Self-service trial experience available in Microsoft Purview, MC676124. And I kind of gave it a Purview because, a lot of people, when you think about Microsoft Purview, and I know you think about it every day, people out there, you're like, I can't get it off my mind. It's like the whole...
I wish I could get it.
Yeah, it's the whole, question now of do men always think every day about the Roman Empire? I know everybody thinks about Microsoft Purview every day. You're like, I really want Purview. Well, beginning in mid-October, users are going to be able to sign up for it. They're going to be able to get a trial offering and start using it. Now, don't know all the details exactly what they're going to be able to do. So they're going to start a trial. Great. And, of course, admins will then see that a user is on a trial and is interested.
Yes.
And so, but what are they going to be able to do with that? Because when you think about Purview, we think about it from an organizational perspective. We think about Purview being this data governance and risk and compliance, which it is. So what are these users going to be able to do? I know a few things. This is more of I'm really asking the question, why allow users to do this? And Daryl, I'm pretty sure you have a guess, but why are we allowing users to sign up? Now, of course, you can turn this off. As an admin, you most certainly can do that. You can actually, you're going to see those signals. They call them signals in this, but you're going to be able to see that people are signing up for them for the trial. So what is it that, why allow people in your organizations do this? Why is Microsoft allowing that? And what do you think, Daryl? What is your hypothesis as to why they would be doing that?
Hypothesis. Well, we have seen this pattern with another product. Was it Power BI? It was Power BI. Yeah. So the idea of serving up a license to show and create demand, but that was for something around reporting and visualizing data, and it sort of had more of a practical application. For this one, I don't know, maybe it's they're doing this ahead of releasing something else. That's when I see something like this and I go, well, I've got no reason to go and want to require Purview unless this is the foundation for something else that will be announced or released that will make me want to go and go, I want that because that's going to help me improve the way that I work somehow.
Right.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is a whole lot of it says it right there, for admins to identify users that would benefit from this. So it's a way for users to say, hey, I want this. So they'll go and sign up for a trial so that admins can see it. But rarely are admins, in my thinking through this, rarely are admins the ones that are empowered to give it to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
An admin's not going to go, oh, you want this full Purview? Sure, let me assign you a license. Or let me buy it for you. That's generally not how organizations work, right? It has to come through a project or through an initiative to, we're going to use Purview, and so we need to purchase licenses for our users, and we need to assign them, and rightfully so. Purview's this animal, a good animal, but it's a thing. It's not. I was having a conversation with a fellow MVP this past week at the conference, the aforementioned conference, who is like the foremost compliance person in North America, my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, Joanne Klein. And we were having a conversation about Purview, and it's like, this is not something you just turn on and, walk away from. It's not something it is something you have to go through and do a lot of work before you even start configuring things, right, in your organization. So where is all that, a lot of work happening if people are just signing up for trials and willy-nilly using it? Now, it's not the same if you're, I don't want to allude that someone signing up for Purview is the same as, creating and going through the process of creating labels and doing a lot of, compliance kind of activities. I'm just saying it should be a little bit more. It's a product that is not like Power BI, like you mentioned, where Power BI, you can start using it like that. You can connect to your own Excel workbooks. You can start sharing and doing all that pretty easily. So anyway, a lot of talk about that. Number one, you can turn it off if you want to. Number two, you can actually terminate those trial licenses at any time as an admin. And three, you can convert them to paid licenses if you want. The user doesn't put in credit card information, so therefore it's not going to bill at the time of the end of the trial. So I agree, though. This is kind of one of those, hey, see, lots of people want it, so you need to buy it kind of thing, signal to the admin. So.
But we're yet to see the story of why would people click in to say they want it.
Right. Indeed. Well, I hope you found value, people, because we are at the end of our episode number 303, and we are really excited that you joined us, and you made it this far. Congratulations. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, will you please go onto the socials, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever social, and tag us at 365MCS and said, I made it. Just say that. I made it. And we'd love to see that.
It's
an inside joke.
For that.
It's an inside joke, right? Or not a joke, but an inside thing for us to have. So just put I made it and tag us, and we'll reply to you. We'd love to see that on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitters and Instagram and all those places. So would love to.
Okay. 303 next week. 304 next week.
Is that how it works?
If we're not skipping next week. As long as there's something to talk about.
Right.
We've always got something to talk about.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.